Hello, my dears. Welcome again. This is Teacher Muntaha with you. In this new video, we'll continue our story, which is titled by Kaddo's Wall. Here, we'll start with, or we'll continue with part 2. In the previous video, we discussed everything about part 1, the questions, the vocabulary, and I suppose that you memorized the whole vocabulary and the questions, and you did some practice on reading. So, we'll continue in this video talking about part 2 of the story. We'll discuss and explain everything in it. Now, I'll ask you to open on part 2 your literature book, page 130, please. 130. You will listen to this part, paragraph by paragraph or by pages, and then we'll start explaining everything. So, open your literature book, page 130, and follow up with me, please.
Turn to page 130, Kaddo's Wall, Part 2.
And then one year there was a bad harvest for Kaddo. There wasn't enough rain to grow the corn, and the earth dried up hard and dusty like the road. There wasn't a single ear of corn in all of Kaddo's fields or the fields of his relatives. The next year it was the same. Kaddo had no seed corn left, so he sold his cattle and horses to buy corn for food and seed for a new planting. He sowed corn again, but the next harvest time it was the same, and there wasn't a single ear of corn on all his fields. Year after year, Kaddo's crops failed. Some of his relatives died of hunger, and others went away to other parts of the kingdom of Seno, for they had no more seed corn to plant, and they couldn't count on Kaddo's help. Kaddo's workers ran away because he was unable to feed them. Gradually, Kaddo's part of the town became deserted.
So, again, we are on page 130. So, as you see in front of you, we'll start with the first 3 lines and then 1 year until relatives. These lines is talking about that in 1 year came to Kaddo, there was nothing, it was a very bad harvest, and there wasn't any rain to grow or anything to plant. So there is something bad is happening here for Kaddo because of the bad harvest. So I'm asking you this question. Now, why do you think that it was a very bad harvest? Why do you think that there was a bad harvest for Kaddo this time? The answer, of course, you should know that there wasn't, because there wasn't enough rain to grow the corn, and the earth dried up hard and dusty like the road. So there wasn't rain in order to grow or to plant the corn, and because of that we don't have any good harvest. We have bad harvest for Kaddo. Now there is something because of that, the results of the bad harvest, that Kaddo's relatives start to do something for themselves, that they start to run away. They left Kaddo. And this is, you can see in the second 3 lines. The next year it was the same. Kaddo had no seed corn left, so he sold his cattle and horses to buy corn for food and seed for a new planting. So I'm asking you this question. Why do you think that Kaddo sell his cattle and horses? Why did he sell his cattle and horses? Think about this question. If you look at these 3 lines, you can find the answer. Yes, the answer is that he sold his cattle and horses to buy corn for food and seed for a new planting. So he needed something to sell in order to buy corn and food. Yes, in order to have food. So he sowed corn again, but the next harvest time it was the same, and there wasn't a single ear of corn on all his fields. So nothing happened to him, nothing new, nothing good. He was in a very bad condition, in a very bad situation, that he didn't have any corn or seed corn to plant. The last 3 lines, year after year, Kaddo's crops failed. Some of his relatives died of hunger. Here we are talking about what happened to his relatives. So here we have a very important question. What happened to his relatives? Think of this question. What happened to his relatives? Yes, the answer is that some of his relatives died of hunger. They were hungry, so because of that, they died. They didn't find anything to eat. And others went away to other parts of the kingdom of Sino. The others left the kingdom of Sino. They left Kaddo, for they had no more seed corn to plant and they couldn't count on Kaddo's help. They couldn't depend on Kaddo because he couldn't help them. He also needs seed corn in order to eat. And the last line here, Kaddo's workers ran away because he was unable to feed them. So the question here, why do you think Kaddo's workers ran away? They ran away because he was unable to feed them. Feed them, it means to give them food, to give them something to eat. Gradually, Kaddo's part of the town became deserted. So we end that the kingdom of Sino, it became deserted. Deserted, it means empty. And you can find these bold vocabulary in your study sheet or literature study sheet too. You should open page 5. You can find these vocabulary. Now, I'll repeat the vocabulary for you before moving to the next part of this page. Harvest. Yes, number 1 is harvest. Next, you have relatives, relatives, relatives. We have sowed. You have sowed, sowed. Then you have hunger, hunger, hunger. And then you have count on, very important idiom. Yes, it is an idiom in the story. Count on, it means that you know that the person will help you. You can find the meaning in your study sheet. Then you have feed, feed, feed. Gradually, gradually. Then you have deserted, 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 which means empty. So make sure that you look at these vocabulary and memorize them. Now,
All that he had left were a young daughter and a mangy donkey. When his cattle and his money were all gone, Kaddo became very hungry. He scraped away a little bit of the flour wall and ate it. The next day, he scraped away more of the flour wall and ate it. The wall got lower and lower. Little by little, it disappeared. A day came when the wall was gone, when nothing was left of the elegant structure Kaddo had built around his house, and on which he had used to sit to listen to the people of the town when they came to ask him to lend them a little seed corn. Then Kaddo realized that if he was to live any longer, he must get help from somewhere. He wondered who would help him. Not the people of Tindella, for he had insulted and mistreated them, and they would not want to help him. There was only one man he could go to, Sagole, king of the Ghana people, who had the reputation of being very rich and generous.
so my dears, the rest of page 130 started with all that he had left were a young daughter and a mangy donkey. So here we are talking about the things that Kaddo still have, his daughter and his donkey. And then you have the next paragraph, which started with when his cattle and his money were all gone, Kaddo became very hungry. Now I'll ask you the question for this paragraph. Well, what did Kaddo do after he lost everything? Now he became very hungry. So what did he do in order to find food, in order to eat? Yes, look at the first line. At the end of the first line, you have he scraped away a little bit of the flour wall and ate it. So what did he do? He took a little bit of the flour wall and he started to eat it. Do you remember the flour wall that he built? Now he started to eat that wall. Then what happened to the wall? What happened to the flour wall? If you continue this paragraph, you will know that the wall the wall got lower and lower. It started to be very small in size. So little by little, it disappeared. It refers to Yes, the flower wall. It disappeared. It all gone. So after that, the structure or the elegant structure or the wall that we are talking about disappeared, as I said before. So Kaddo start to look at himself and his situation, and at the end of this paragraph you can see that Kaddo start to remember that wall that where he used to sit and listen to the people. Now he doesn't have anything to sit on or to talk to people through that. So we'll continue the last 4 lines on the page that you have in front of you. Then Kaddo realized if he was to live any longer, he must get help from somewhere. So in this paragraph, I'll ask you another question. What do you think that Kaddo will do in order to find food or to have something to eat? Yes, in this paragraph, you can find the question that he will look for help. He will ask someone to help him. Now, do you think that people of Tandela will help him? Think. Do you think that people of Tandela will help him? Now, of course, you should know that the answer should be no, because they will not help him because he was selfish. He was not kind at all with them. He insulted and mistreated them, that he treated them in a very bad way. So the end of this page is talking that he was asking for someone or looking for someone to help him. The second line, not the people of Tandela, for he had insulted and mistreated them. Who's he? He refers to, yes, Kaddo. And who are them? The people of Tandela. Now they would not want to help him. There was only one man he could go to, Sogole, king of the Ghana people. So we are introducing a new character, Sogole. Who's Sogole? He is the king of the Ghana people, the person that Kaddo will go there and ask for help. Now, who's Sogole again? He's the king of the Ghana people. Now, what do we know about him? As you can see the last line, who had the reputation of being very rich and generous. Who's he? Who refers to, yes, Sogole, the king of the Ghana people, who had the reputation. He's known for being rich and generous. And you have the meaning for the word generous in your study sheet. It means that the one who likes to help others. So before moving on, I will remind you with this vocabulary from the beginning. Manji, donkey. Yes, this word is manji. And we have little by little. It is an idiom which means slowly. You have disappeared, disappeared, disappeared. Then you have elegant structure, elegant structure, elegant structure. It means the form of the flower wall. Well, it was very elegant, very beautiful before Kaddo start to eat from it or eat it. Then you have wondered, 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 and insulted, 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 mistreated, mistreated, mistreated. Then the last one, generous, generous, generous. Now we'll move on to page 131. Now open page 131 in your book and follow with me. And of course you have your study sheet or literature study sheet, page 5 for the vocabulary.
So Kaddo and his daughter got on the mangy, underfed donkey and rode 7 days until they arrived in the land of the Ghana. Sogole sat before his royal house when Kaddo arrived. He had a soft skin put on the ground next to him for Kaddo to sit upon, and had millet beer brought for the two of them to drink. Well, stranger in the land of the Ghana, take a long drink, for you have a long trip behind you if you came from Tandela, Sogole said. Thank you, but I can't drink too much, Kaddo said. Why is that? Sogole said. When people are thirsty, they drink. That is true, Kaddo replied, but I have been hungry too long. and my stomach has shrunk. Well, drink in peace then, because now that you are my guest, you won't be hungry. You shall have whatever you need from me. Kaddo nodded his head solemnly, and drank a little more of the millet beer. And now tell me, Sogole said, you say you come from the town of Tindella in the kingdom of Seno? I've heard many tales of that town. The famine came there and drove out many people because they had no corn left.
So, my dears, let's continue. Now we are on page 131, the beginning of this page. Now Kaddo and his daughter, they start their trip from Tindella to the Ghana people to see or to ask Sogole for help. And the first three lines telling you that he went to the Ghana people, again to Sogole, and when he arrived, what was Sogole's reaction, or how did he, what did he say when he saw him, or what did he do? The answer should be yes, in line 2, Sogole sat before his royal house when Kaddo arrived. He had a soft skin put on the ground next to him for Kaddo to set upon, and had millet beer brought for the two of them to drink. So he asked Kaddo to sit, and he gave him something to drink in order that he had a very long trip from Tindella to the Ghana people, or to see Sogole. And next, you have this conversation between Sogole and Kaddo, and the rest of it is talking about that Sogole started to ask Kaddo about his long trip from Tindella to the Ghana people, or to the kingdom of Sogole. And then he started to talk to him. He asked him to drink, but Kaddo refused to drink. And here I have a question for you. If you look at the line where we start for why is that here, Sogole said, why is that? It's line about 7. Why is that? Sogole said, when people thirsty, they drink. So he's asking Kaddo, why do you refuse to drink? Of course, you should be thirsty, so you should drink anything in order not to be thirsty. Now, why do you think that Kaddo refused to drink anything? Yes, you should know that because Kaddo didn't drink too much because he was hungry. Yes, he was hungry and he was looking for something to eat. Now, the end of this page, as you see in front of you, the last 4 lines, Kaddo nodded his head solemnly and drank a little of the millet beer. So he drank a little. And now tell me, Sogole said, you say you come from the town of Tindella in the kingdom of Sino. I've heard many tales of that town. The famine came there and drove out many people because they had no corn left. Here in these lines, Sogole tried to know something or some information from Kaddo about Tindella, and he started to ask him about the famine. The famine, the condition when there is no food. He will ask him about what happened in Tindella. Tell me what happened to that kingdom and for Kaddo himself. Now we'll continue to see the next of page 131. Yes, 131. Let's listen.
Yes, Kaddo said. Hard times drove them out, and the corn was all gone. But tell me, there was a rich and powerful man in Tindella named Kaddo, wasn't there? Whatever happened to him? Is he still alive? Yes, he is still alive, Kaddo said. A fabulous man, this Kaddo, Sogole said. They say he built a wall of flour around his house, out of his surplus crops, and when he talked to his people, he sat on the wall by his gate. Is this true? Yes, it is true, Kaddo said sadly. Does he still have as many cattle as he used to? Sogole asked. No, they are all gone. It is an unhappy thing for a man who owned so much to come to so little. Sogole said. But doesn't he have many servants and workers still? His workers and servants are all gone, Kaddo said. Of all his great household, he has only one daughter left. The rest went away because there was no money and no food. Sogole looked melancholy.
So, my dears, now here we'll continue with the conversation between Kaddo and Sugoli. And in these lines, let me see the first maybe 4 lines. Now, Sugoli is asking Kaddo for what happened in the kingdom of Tendilla. And Kaddo start to answer him that hard times drove the people of Tendilla out, and the corn was all gone, nothing to eat, and we had a famine there. Then in the next lines, Sugoli start to talk or to ask Kaddo about whom? About Kaddo himself, and he didn't know that the one he's talking with or talking with, he is Kaddo himself, the king of Tendilla, or the one who's responsible for the people in Tendilla. And the rest lines here in the middle, he starts Sugoli to ask him that is it true that he built a wall of flour? Is it true that he doesn't have any cattle? Is it true that he sell his cattle in order to have food, or what happened to him? Then, yes, Kaddo answered that the whole information that Sugoli is introducing are correct, or they are correct, yes. And now, the last lines here mentioned that Sugoli was asking Kaddo about everything that happened in Tendilla, that Kaddo start to be a poor person. He doesn't have any servants or workers. As you see the last 3 lines, his workers and servants are all gone, Kaddo said. Now Kaddo is talking about whom here? Yes, he's talking about himself, that whole of his workers and servants all gone. Then he still have only his daughter and his donkey. The last line here, Sugoli looked melancholy. It means that he looked at Kaddo sadly. He was so sad. So what do you expect Sugoli to do now? Yes, of course he will ask Kaddo to do anything to him, maybe to help him, because again he had the reputation of being very rich man and generous. Now now here we have the rest of page 131, and we'll continue with 132. Follow with me and listen carefully.
What is a rich man when his cattle are gone and his servants have left him? But tell me, what happened to the wall of flour that he built around his house? He ate the wall, Kaddo said. Each day he scraped a little of the flour from the wall until it was all gone. A strange story, Sugoli said. But such is life. He thought quietly for a while about the way life goes for people sometimes, and then he asked, "And were you, by any chance, one of Kaddo's family?" Indeed, I was one of Kaddo's family. Once I was rich. Once I had more cattle than I could count. Once I had many cornfields. Once I had hundreds of workers cultivating my crops. Once I had a bursting granary. Once I was Kaddo, the great man of Tendilla. What? You yourself are Kaddo? Yes, once I was proud and lordly, and now I sit in rags, asking for help. What can I do for you? Sugoli asked. I have nothing left now. Give me some seed corn, so that I can go back and plant my fields again.
So let's continue, my dears. Here, yes, we are on page 132. If you are following from your book or from the page that you have in front of you, we'll continue the conversation between Sugoli and Kaddo. And finally, Sugoli discovered, or at the beginning here of this page, the first three lines start talking about Kaddo and what happened to him, and Kaddo himself is answering the questions about himself. Again, Sugoli didn't know that he's talking to Kaddo himself. Now, the following lines, you have a strange story, Sugoli said, but such is life. Strange story, he means the story of Kaddo, that he built a wall of a flower and now he's poor. Then you have the following lines, he thought quietly for a while about the way life goes for people sometimes, and then he asked, and were you by any chance one of Kaddo's family? Here Sugoli is asking Kaddo if he is one of Kaddo's family. Now the answer from Kaddo in the following lines that he said, yes, I am Kaddo, the king of Tindella, the great man of Tindella. I once had servants, workers, and crops and a bursting granary. The end of this page, the last three lines, then here we can notice that Sugoli discovered that this is Kaddo when he said, what? You yourself are Kaddo? And Kaddo is, yes, answering that, yes, I was, or I am Kaddo, but I was once proud and lordly, and now I sit in rags asking for help. He's talking about himself, that once he was rich, but now he is poor and he's asking for help. The last line now, I have nothing left now, give me some seed corn so that I can go back and plant my fields again. If I ask you a question here for this line, what do you think that Kaddo will ask Sugoli to give? Now Kaddo will ask Sugoli to give him what? Yes, your answer should be that Kaddo is asking Sugoli to give him some seed corn. And why is that? Why do you think that he's asking for seed corn? Of course, to plant his fields again. To plant his fields again when he go back to Tindella. The last part of part 2, the last page here we have. Now listen and follow.
Take what you need, Sugoli said. He ordered his servants to bring bags of corn and to load them on Kaddo's donkey. Kaddo thanked him humbly, and he and his daughter started their return trip to Tindella. They traveled for 7 days. On the way, Kaddo became very hungry. He hadn't seen so much corn for a long time as he was bringing back from the kingdom of the Ghana. He took a few grains and put them in his mouth and chewed them. Once more, he put a few grains in his mouth. Then he put a whole handful in his mouth and swallowed. He couldn't stop. He ate and ate. He forgot that this was the corn with which he had to plant his fields. When he arrived in Tindella, he went to his bed to sleep, and when he arose the next morning, he ate again. He ate so much of the corn that he became sick. He went to his bed again and cried out in pain, because his stomach had forgotten what to do with the food. And before long, Kaddo died. Kaddo's grandchildren and great-grandchildren in the kingdom of Seno are poor to this day. And to the rich men of the country, the common people sometimes say, "Don't build a wall of flour around your house."
So my dears, we'll continue with the last section of part 2. Here in the first 2 lines, you have these lines about Sugoli and what did he do when Kaddo asked him for some seed corn. So the question is, what did Sugoli do when Kaddo asked him for seed corn? Yes, in the first line, he ordered his servants. Who's he? Yes, again, who's he? He refers to Sugoli, that he ordered his servants or his workers to bring bags of corn and to load them. To load what? To load the bags of corn on Kaddo's donkey. Kaddo thanked him humbly. So what did Kaddo do in return when he saw that Sugoli is giving him some seed corn or bags of corn? He thanked him. Thanked whom? Yes, Sugoli humbly in a very nice way, and he and his daughter started their return trip to Tindella. Now the following paragraph, the end of this part, is talking about that Kaddo and his daughter and his donkey, they returned to Tandilla, and in the way of their trip, Kaddo started to be hungry. So what did he do in order to eat? What did he do in order to eat, or what did he eat? Now, remember that he had bags of corn. The thing that he do or he did was that he started to eat from the corn that he had, and he forgot that this corn supposed to plant or to be planted when he returned where to Tandala. So this paragraph is talking that he is continued eating corn in a very huge amount until he got sick or he became sick. Then when he arrived to Tandilla, he tried to sleep. When he arose, he became also sick, and he, at the end of that, because of what happened to his stomach, that his stomach had a huge amount of food, so because of that, at the end, he died. So Kaddo died. If I ask you a question, how did Kaddo die? Or why did Kaddo die? Your answer should be from this paragraph, because he ate too much corn that his stomach had forgotten what to do with the food, or his stomach started to hurt him because we have a huge amount of food. Now the last three lines here, it's telling you what happened after Kaddo's death. When he died, what happened after him in the kingdom of Tandilla. Now Kaddo's grandchildren and great-grandchildren in the kingdom of Sino, the town of Tandilla, they are poor to this day. So because of what did he do, his grandchildren, they are poor now because of that. And people, as if that they start to tell the rich men or the rich people about Kaddo, or they try to teach people a lesson so they will not be like Kaddo, by saying what? Don't build a wall of a flower around your house. This is the last line in this part, and by this you should know that this is the moral of the story, that you should appreciate everything you have. You should value everything you have. You should say that, of course, I have everything and I am so much satisfied. And this is well go to you, my dears, to write the morals that you have taught and the lessons that you have taught from this story. So, my dears, by this we have finished the story of Kaddo's wall, and I suppose that you should memorize the whole vocabulary that you have and the whole questions in your study sheet, which is page 5, 6, and 7 from part 2. And by this we finish everything about this story. I hope you study well the whole vocabularies and the questions, and of course you have to do some reading practice for the story itself. See you soon, and thank you very much.